welcome. So you have one. There's one more for you. One for you. So just for another few minutes of quiet, look at this. Look at the translation of this song. It's written in the 1500s by a student of Rabbi Moshe Cordovero. Here's another one, and it's a poetic classic. It's a masterpiece of poetry, Kabbalistic poetry. The subject that we're learning is the Sfirot, so this is part of it tonight. I'll just hum the tune while we're waiting. Tune is from Halab, the ancient city of Aleppo. Do it together. Na 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 the last part of Hashem's name. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. So you see that the name of Hashem at the end of every stanza has a different voweling, right? The top is the vowel called kamat, and the second one is patach. It's a straight line. You know, kamats is actually they're all dots and dashes. Dashes are male and dots are female. The only one that's a dot and a dash is kamats. There's a dot underneath, and there. It's complete unity with male, female. And then Chochma, which is Patach, is pure male, and Sere, which is two horizontally placed dots, is female. The rest of them are all dots, except one, Yesod. But it's a dots and dashes system. Very simple, but very beautiful, very profound. Really, the world is zeros and ones. The world is a system of straight lines and circles. Our bodies are straight lines, but we're made of circles. The Beit HaMikdash had the Lishkat HaGazit, the chamber of hewn stones, squared, right? And that's where prophecy was. That's where the sages were. That's the mind. That's why tefillin have to be completely square. And the Mizbeach had to be uncut stones, round, from the heart. The heart and the mind. So just to look at the words for a moment. Hashem, you conceal yourself in order to give existence to the universe and all that is in it. That makes sense? If God would not hide, would there be a universe? I mean, if it doesn't make sense, tell me. Like, what's the logic? Why do you have to hide? Why can't you just make a universe and not hide? And you know the word olam in Hebrew? What does it mean? Ne'elam, hidden. So Hashem is Melech HaOlam. He's the God who hides in his universe, the king who hides in his universe. Where does he hide? Where does he hide? Right next to us. It's deeper that God hides right next to us than if he would be in heaven and we'd see his infiniteness revealed. That's why King David and King Solomon both used to dress up and disguise themselves and walk among the people, which is really what God does. God's in the movie. He's every character in the movie. But he disguises himself. So when we realize that after 120 years and we go up and we ask, where were you? And he says, well, I was in everybody you met. I was in every event that you, every phenomenon, I was behind everything. You just had to open your eyes to be aware of me. So at Sinai, we had this experience. It says in the Pasuk, Ata horeta ladat, ki Adonai hu ha'elohim enod milvado. You have been shown to know. You've been shown to know, and we'll use the word dat twice, to have an illumination of awareness, not just to know, but you've been given horeta ladat, has the letters he'arata dat. You've been given an inner knowing, an inner awareness that will stay in the Jewish soul and will be there for all mankind, to know that Hashem hu Elohim, enod milvado. So what does Hashem hu Elohim mean? Anybody want to chance a feeling of how you might want to see that in conceptual terms? What does it mean? What do these three magic words mean? And it's repeated in 4 verses right after that. It says, Hashem ha'Elohim, enod milvado. And another verse, 4 verses later, in Deuteronomy, Devarim, chapter 4, B'yadat hayom v'hashavota el levavecha, ki Hashem hu ha'Elohim, v'shamayim mimah v'yam ha'aretz mitachat ha'orot. So Hashem hu ha'Elohim, those are the 2 main places that it appears. It appears again in the story of Eliyahu Navi on Mount Carmel, when the people yell out, Hashem hu ha'Elohim twice, and on Yom Kippur, we're doing it like a lot of times, and every day we actually have a few times when we say it too. What does it mean to you? What does it mean to us? What's the Ata Horeta Ladat? You were shown to have a deep awareness of this, so that it would last until Mashiach would come. Because whatever, a deep, deep knowing, abiding awareness. What is this encapsulated in these three words. So please don't feel that there's only one right answer. We'll work with whatever you want to say. What's the dynamic of Hashem Hu Elohim?
I think it's also like you can see it in the prayer when you say both of Hashem, Elohim, Elohim. So why do we say it like why do we also say like that? Why do we have to say Elokei Elohim? We just said Elohim. Doesn't that incorporate also Elohim? So there's a breaking down like an understanding of I don't know how this works in enforcing everything, but just from my understanding, I guess, from what I'm trying to figure out, you have Shem is like all chesed.
Yeah.
All. So when you're standing up and you're looking into all chesed, it's huge and enormous and incredible, beautiful, but you can't catch any of it until you put on the spacesuit of
Elohim. You can't handle the infiniteness. The overwhelming infiniteness of God's love, His chesed, His mercy. He has to, in order for us to have a relationship with Him, He has to put on
spacesuit. You can't go to space and the moon without having a spacesuit.
So Hashem has to, so to speak, dress up, and that's what the Hu is, by the way. Hashem is the one who hides Himself as Ha-Elohim. But now you said love, right? You said love. What else can we learn of Hashem vis-a-vis Ha-Elohim? Just put it in words. Give me some. I didn't say Elohim and Hashem. I said Hashem Elohim, right? So the hand motion already gives away something. But yes, pause.
Like revealed and concealed, like chesed and.
Well, there's a paradoxical thing that the higher he is, the more concealed he is. And he had to hide himself in order to reveal himself. And here it's hidden. Hidden and revealed is nice, but it's like this. They're always working together. They're light and shade. You can't have one without the other. But go ahead. Just keep.
I'm thinking it's like the unity of the two, the UK and the Kim, like sort of like with the Pasha with like El Shaddai, that Hashem's name was more hidden, and then later it became more revealed. UK.
Okay. Good.
It's indifferentiation up there, no?
Undifferentiation up there.
It's all undifferentiated. It's like
no infinite, undifferentiated. No boundaries. No Ein Sof.
Right.
No Gvul. No boundary. No categorization. No conceptualization.
Right. So there's no way we can connect with that.
It's too much. We don't exist up that level. We exist in a state of non-existence. But He wants us to exist. So again, Yochanan is saying that there has to be a step-down system in order to be able there should be a relationship. The ladder is Elohim. The light that comes down the ladder in diminishing, right, allows a world to exist where you can exist and I can exist, and we can walk back up the ladder. Ha-Elohim. You are really the one. You're the one who. What's Elohim? You're the one who is the author of all phenomena. You are the director. You're the one who makes it happen right here inside the scene. But I go. Let's do a hekesh. But I said, but if you are the one who does this, that doesn't define who you are. That just gives me an inkling of something much greater. I don't know what it is, but I can imagine that if this is what you can do, then who you are is even much more.
If you actually look at someone, it says that Elohim is what? He's the person that's doing everything, and he's the cause behind everything. So it's like when you focus on the name itself, you realize, wow, he literally is doing everything, and he's the cause, the power behind it.
He's a powerhouse behind everything.
So there's like more of an understanding of like he's really a part of it.
Yefé. We're going to see why I'm doing all this, but don't take off your thinking cap. Yes.
Just maybe slightly different in Shadeh Ora, so he brings that there's Ani Ata and Hu.
Ani. We call Hashem sometimes is Ani, like Ani, Anochi.
and also Ata.
and Ataf.
And then so when he brings it, Ani is the name of Adonai, which is Mafud, which is in constriction, which is Elohim. And Ata is the name of Yud Kevavke. And Hu is the name of Keter.
Right.
So, according to what you said before, in terms of this vow, the comments, which brings male and female together. And so that's the Hu, it's impersonal, we can't relate to that, but it's there, you know. So Hashem Hu Elohim really encompasses everything.
It really does. And it's a beautiful meditation. And it's just a treasure house. It's relative to Elohim. The Elohim is the system that Hashem made. And what we've spoken about week after week is that Hashem is behind the system. But he created an amazing system, so he wants us to see him in the system and through the system. He wants us to appreciate his presence within the system and then to work our way back beyond the system, which in a sense is super rational. It's a super rational state. It's a quiet state. I don't have a lot of thoughts when I'm in that above the system state. But I know that it exists, and I know that it exists within me. And then I come back each time into my system and into the system of the world with more of that, more essence into my vessels. Right? He's essence, and we're vessels. So Hashem is essence, and Elohim is vessels. And the sphirot are the different ways that the light breaks up into different, just like the spectrum of colors, different way that the light breaks up in terms of how he interacts with us and relates with us. So you conceal yourself in order to give existence to the universe in all that is in it. And the universe is your secret hiding place where man can be totally oblivious to you. Your intelligence is hidden and infinitely beyond human conception. You are the cause of all causes, whose supernal will is to be crowned, i.e. recognized by man, despite your concealment. In other words, I have to know you're here, despite the fact that you're concealed. And then you say, yes, that's what I was looking for. I was looking for somebody who was going to look for me behind the concealment, right? The Baal Shem Tov's famous Torah on the verse, Haster astir panai, Bayomahu, on that day I will surely hide my face. Just before Mashiach comes, Hashem will surely hide his face. The Baal Shem Tov said the double language of Haster astir, which the Gemara learns is the source for the book of Esther and for the character of Esther. So Haster astir is I will hide my hiding. If I'm just hidden, at least you'll sense my hiddenness and you will look for it. But if my hiddenness is hidden, then there'll be a time when people won't even know to look and will think that I don't exist. So when we break through that, in a sense, we do it when we say Shema, we close our eyes, right? And we cover our eyes. How do you cover your eyes? There's two ways. This is what most people do, right? This is what some people do. You ever seen this? What do? So this means Hashem's name. It's a shin, a dalet, and a yud. And it's literally your fingers, right? Shin, dalet, yud, pinky. Well, dalet. I mean, it's also obviously it's just, that's it, right? That's it. And yud. So this means, the Gemara says, actually it's the Midrash, Bereshit Rabbah, Misha Amar Dai Le'olamo, She Amar Dai, She Dai. He who said enough, die, to his world. And again, Olam is to the concealment process with which he made the world. Ad Kan, I will only hide myself so much, so that if it goes any further, nobody will ever find me. It'll be a bureaucracy. Kafka's castle. Just never get anywhere. But Rabbi Nachman is the I always like to put them together because Rabbi Nachman had the same depth of existential pain and became a Rabbi Nachman. And Franz Kafka just went in circles. But he was a beautiful man. And he was a Jew who said a lot of important things. Anyway, so the Elohim has to give way to Havaya, to Yud Ke Vav Ke, and then we have to come back into Elohim every time with more Havaya, with more, until the Elohim begins to shine and reverberate, and the frequency goes up, and then it becomes completely a revelation of Havaya. And that's through our Da'at, Yadat Hayom. So let's just sing the last three, and then we'll continue with the class. And with Hashem's help, we'll have reference to this song more and more. And I really would love it if you'd learn it, if you'd read it, if you'd appreciate the incredible level of poetry here. For instance, the fourth from the bottom. From the right side of overflowing loving kindness, and from the left side of light circumscribed. So Netzach and Hod, Netzach is overflowing light. It's expressive. It's on the side of Chesed. It's just below Chesed. And Hod is a holding back, just like Gevurah above it. But that's where the prophets drew their inspired visions. Self-assertion is, again, like overflowing loving kindness. Self-assertion is I move forward in life. I walk, I step strongly. Hod is self-effacement. I can hardly move. I can hardly make my presence felt. But the feet, the right, left, the movement of the right, left, the feet, right, is that I have netzach, and then hod, netzach, hod. I'm constantly, right? And that's how we walk in the world. It's more like a basketball player, an American basketball, than a football player. A football player will run through everybody. But a basketball player knows how to go around, under, over. He doesn't like to bump into people. He knows he has hod. He has hod. Hod, which means that I don't push you over with my presence. I acquiesce to your presence and go around. Okay. So we'll start from the third from the bottom, from Yesod. And I want to just mention that the version you have at home, you notice the last stanza, we have the positive. You said, Umafrid aluf, lo yireh me'orod. This is Umeyached aluf. Umeyached aluf, hu yireh me'orod is something we see in certain songs. There's certain songs that we don't like to say the negatives and to praise the positive. Yesod Tzadik B'Shiva Ne'elam Od B'Rithu Le'olam Ma'ayan Beracha Tzaddik Yesod Olam Tzaddik Atah Adonai Nakem Malchut David uShalomo Ba'atara she'itira lo imo Knesset Yisrael Kala Kru'a B'ne'ima Teferet b'yad Adonai. Double stop. But I mean, it's a very unique song. Wow. It's a holy of holies. So if you ever want to meditate the way that they did a few hundred years ago, they have a book. We have a few books by Abu Lafia. We have a book called Sulam Ha'aliyah, the Ladder of Ascent by Rabbi Yehuda Obotini. He was from the Portugal, the Girush Portugal, the expulsion from Portugal. Like many from Spain and Portugal, he went through Turkey and then came down south into Israel. Became the chief rabbi of Yerushalayim in 1509. And he was an Abu Lafian. He was a meditator. And he wrote this beautiful book called the Sulam Ha'aliyah, the Ladder of Ascent. And he says, you should go, if you have two houses, of course, pretty well off. One of them is just for meditation. You should have beautiful plants and beautiful fragrances. And you can have some instruments there. And you should play the instruments until you arouse your spirit. I have it in, I have the text translated in my book here, but I don't want to take the time, but if anybody wants it, it's an incredible text. And then he says to work with some letters and some permutations and just let your mind go on that. And then until you start to feel the heat of this incredible theme, this energy, this spiritual energy. And but he says, nice environment, nice smells, nice candles. It's like a whole thing, and it tells you how to eat and how to. It's a manual for attaining meditative states. It's a very nice book. So here we are. We're in inner space. For those of you who don't, did you bring your inner space? You have one there you can share. You have two between you, the two of you. And I have one more here in terms of, how's your English? What's your main language?
English.
Okay. What's your name?
Baruch.
Hi, Baruch. And you look so familiar.
Yeah, we've been
Yeah, like it's been a while, but you've been here. Great. So this is our book. I'm going to page chapter 4. This there's a note here that Yitta bat Miriam and Sarah Rivka bat Sasha. Unfortunately. And anybody else who needs. So chapter 4 is called the Sfirot. It's a preparation for chapter 5, which is the chapter on Keter. Chapter 6, you're going to be tested on this. So chapter 5 is Keter. What would be chapter 6? Chochmah and Bina. Chapter 7, Chesed, Gevura, and Tiferet. Chapter 8, Netzach, Hod, Yesod. Chapter 9, Malchut. And every time he goes ahead, he goes back. And he says, how does it all fit together? This is a unique presentation of the Sfirot that I don't think anybody did before or after. This is the best of Aryeh Kaplan. And then in chapter 10, after presenting the Sfirot in terms of how they work and their modalities, right? He says, well, what I've told you so far is about the Sfirot in their rectified form. Yes. Well, there was a time when they were not rectified. What that means, I don't know either. But those are the words we used. Those are the words we used. There was a time before they were rectified when they were unrectified. And the Ari describes them that in rectified form, they're in columns, 3 columns. Keter in the middle, Chochmah and Bina on the sides. And if you count Dot, we'll see how that works. It's in the middle. Chesed and Gevura, Tiferet in the middle. Netzach and Hod, Yesod in the middle. Malchut. The Mekubalim love to talk like physicists. So they say the right column is Chochma, Chesed. You're right, not mine. Chochma, Chesed, Netzach is Chacham. Chochma, Chesed, Netzach. And this is Bina, Gevura, Hod, Baga. Doesn't mean anything. It's just Rashi Tevot. But you'll see it's a tradition by them. They love to talk in. And this is Keter and Dat and Tiferet and Yesod and Malchut, Datyam, or Datim, religious people. It's supposed to be in the middle. We're supposed to be in the middle, Datim. We're supposed to have some Dat. Okay. And then on the bottom three are called Nahi, without Malchut, or Nahiyan with Malchut. And above that is Chagat. Chesed Gvur Tiferet is Chagat, which is also Chita, Gefen, Te'ena, wheat, grapes, and figs. It happens to be three of the fruits mentioned that the Chazal say that Adam ate, not apples. Chagat. Anyway, it's the emotional center here. Chesed Gvur Tiferet. It's how I interact with you. Can I overflow? Do I hold back? Tiferet, harmony. And then there's Chabad, which is more famous, the Chabadniks. There's Chochma Bina V'Dat, or Kachbad with Keter. And then there's Chagat, and Nahi, and Malchut, or Nahiyam. So it's good to know that they become, I suppose it's all about getting to be familiar. And at first it's just names, and then we hear a little bit more. And what we've tried to emphasize is that it's all about getting to know He who is behind the names. He who is behind the names. So I suppose we can start on page 40. As a general definition of sfirot, sfira, what English words are similar to sfirot? Sphere. Anything else? Sefer, well, that's even. Sapphire, no. Sapphire, right, good. Sphere and sapphire. Spherical and sapphire. So those actually, it's interesting that spherical represents one aspect of the sphirot, and sapphire represents another, what he calls here lights and vessels. The sapphire is the light aspect, and the sphere is a vessel aspect. The sphere are generally referred to as midot, literally measures or dimensions. And as we pointed out, the word midot in Hebrew comes into English as media, modulate, mode, modality, right? It's a very, the MD words. They're very consistent, that they are modify, of course, also. It's a beautiful connection. They are measures, by extension, attributes or qualities. It's through the sphere that God limits His infinite essence and manifests specific qualities that His creatures can grasp and relate to. So like you said about Ha-Elokim, right? It's like really the system of Elokim and the light that's flowing into it, the light that's behind it, the hand that's in the glove is Havaya, is Yudki. But the specific, the breakdown into specific frequencies is part of the Elokim system. And then the truth is that really even Havaya, it's a relative to the light of Ein Sof, because Havaya itself ultimately is just a name. and God is above names. So relative to Elohim, Havaya represents the infinite one. But then when we know that, and it's the ineffable name, it's the Shem HaMeforash, it's the highest name. We have all the names, as the Shari Ora says, all the names that we have, all the qualities that we have, they all stem from and they all root up back into Yud Kei Vav Kei. And it's more of a formula. It's a Hey below and a Vav above and a Hey above that and a Yud above that. You have here the it's very important to be able to see it like this. That this is a gate and a pathway up to a palace. And you go inside the palace into the sacred room, the Holy of Holies. You get into there through here, and you go up, and you come back down. Or you can see that this is the pelvis, and this is the body, and this is the shoulders, and this is the head. This is an amazing that we are an embodiment of Hashem's name. So all we say is down here, this is where speech is, in action. But all this is in thought. This is a ladder. And then we have Hashem's name in a bracha, or we have Hashem's name in this song. There's a whoop. This is a window to the infinite, right in the midst of our lives, the Yud Kei Vav Kei. It's like, whoa. But it's there and it's not there. It's not there if you don't know it's there. It's not there. It's not even there. There's no Yud Kei Vav Kei. It's just Aleph Dalet Nun Yud. Children, when they're little, right, 4 years old, 5 years old, they just Baruch Atah, yeah. And then the rabbi or the mommy or the daddy says, no. Say Ado. And from then on, you see one thing and you say another. It's a Kriya Niktiv. You know what that is, a Kriya Niktiv? It's read one way. You speak it one way, but it's written another way. So the halacha in Siman Hey and Shulchan Aruch says that when you see that, you must think Yud Kei Vav Kei. He was, he will, he was, he is, he will be. He is the source of all being. He's beyond existence. He is the source of existence. And Adanut is he's the Lord. He's the Elohim, who's the one who makes all this happen. So so the schizophrenia here, interesting, Or you can see that the gematria of Aleph Dalet Nun Yud is 65. And the same gematria is the word Heichal, a palace or a sanctuary. So Hashem beheichal kodsho, it's a verse. Hashem is in his holy palace. This means Yud Kei Vav Kei enters into and manifests to us only vis-a-vis another name, Aleph Dalet Nun Yud, gematria 65, Heichal. But he's and similarly, you can see the curtain in front of the ark and the ark itself is the 65, and inside, behind is the Yud Kei Vav Kei. It's the Garden of Eden level of existence right here, right now. But it's hidden from us because we're out of Garden of Eden. We've lost it. We don't have any access to it. But to think that it's not here, that's already too far. It's here. Our job is to bring it from potential to reality in our lives. To know that it's the core and the essence frequency of all existence. It's the thing from which everything has its existence. So all of the davening that we do is geared towards is geared from the beginning, from the berachot that we say to the korbanot and the Beit HaMikdash and the Ketoret and the Yud Gimel Mitot of Shad Torah Nidresh B'hem. That whole first section of the prayers with verses I call the verses of ingathering. There's an amazing bunch of stuff there that most people have to skip over, and they start with Hodu. But I work with the Siddur. I've worked for the Siddur for 30 years, and it's like I really put my effort into saying those prayers. I mean, to get up early enough to have enough time to say them long before the minyan starts, because forget it. Once they start, I'm finished. I can't keep up to them. So I go in already when I'm much, much ahead of them. And by the time they get to the Shema, I've started the Shema when they were 5 minutes ago, and I end the word Echad with them. Everything takes time. And then for the rest, I go with them, and I start the Amidah at the same time. But the point I was trying to say is that the prayers lead us in a very beautiful, special way to begin to see through physical reality to the presence of Elokut, of divinity within. It's behind, within. It's the core essence, frequency behind everything. And a lot of the Psukei de Zimra, the whole thing of saying Tehillim. King David is the poet who sang of the praises of the Creator in his creation. He didn't sing the praises of creation. He sang the praises of the Creator in his creation. Then at the end of the Psukei de Zimra, we have Vaybarech David, where he now takes out, he's mafshit, he abstracts out some main words that he hasn't mentioned until now. He's just mentioned mountains and streams and sky and atmosphere and animals. He's mentioned a lot of stuff, but he hasn't mentioned Gedula, Gevura, Tiferet, Netzach Hod. He hasn't mentioned the abstract words that are the midot behind the phenomena that we see. So that's what we're going to meet with here today. And then we go and we go further into how the prayer system works. It's really an encapsulation of the entire prophetic experience of all the prophets. That's what they stuffed into the prayers. And to unstuff it, to unzip it, it's a zip file. And to unzip it, you have to have a certain key of like, what are they trying to do here? What do they want me to get to? What am I getting to in the Amidah? What do I take with me down as I come back down? I go up a mountain to get to the top of the mountain. I get something at the top of the mountain, and I come back down the mountain. And as I come back down, I see things differently. I am different. I come back down to the mountain exactly where I started out in the first place when I said Modeh Ani. And now I have a whole different level of consciousness because I went to the top of the mountain. What is it that I got there? I got past all the levushim, past all the Elokim, to the Havaya, to the experience of God above and beyond the world. That's what the prayer wants me to get to. And then I bring that back down into my life. So going up and coming back down, going in and coming back out are major, they have meaning. I want them to have meaning for you, so I'm trying to kind of express that. And any questions along the way? As such, the sphere act variously as filters, garments, or vessels for the light of Ein Sof that fills them. So it's a really beautiful paragraph. The Sphirot are, through them, God limits his infinite essence and manifests specific qualities that his creatures can grasp. Like we're on the bottom and we're looking up. He's on the top and he's looking down. So he creates a system through which that we can experience him and not get hurt. It's very kind of him. And therefore, there's a system of filters, garments, or vessels. The term sphere itself derives or is related to the Hebrew saper, to express, to communicate. Sapir, sapphire, brilliance, or luminary. It's related to safar, meaning number, sfar, meaning boundary, and sefer, meaning book. Well, all these are related concepts. They point to the sphere as having two basic functions. They're orot, lights or luminaries that serve to reveal and express God's greatness. And they are kelim, they're vessels that limit and delineate God's infinite light, bringing it into the finite realm of number and boundary. Even the letter samich pei, saf is a boundary. Sfat hayam, even though it's spelled differently, it's the same idea. Sfat, sfatayim. That's how the language works. That it's a boundary. Saf. So Ein Sof, obviously. There's no Sof. And the system is a system of self, of boundaries, of limitations. But the ein, the aim. God's calling. God's calling us. Where are we holding? Tell me how you're doing. What are your questions? What are your insights? Because it's like when you go through the Grand Canyon on a mule, just stop once in a while and look at the scenery. It's not like, just getting somewhere. We've stopped here right now. We just talked about vessels and lights. Hashem Hu Elokim. Right? It all has to start making sense, right?
I like the aspect of the Sefirah in terms of the Sefer, the story, the book.
Story.
It's like a story, like in the whole Torah, it's just stories, and so it really helps speed it up. Everyone tells a story.
The Torah is stories. It's an amazingly deep thing. The Torah is stories. It's telling, and also Hashemayim Misaprin Kebod El. The heavens communicate the glory of God. They reveal something. They hide, but they also reveal. So, l'saper. Why the idea of stories is so delightful, that Hashem teaches us of the objective reality of His existence through the subjective stories of His characters. Like, they really existed. Moshe Rabbeinu existed. Yosef existed. Yaakov existed. Sarah, Rivka, and Rachel existed. But also, besides that, they were privileged to play roles in Hashem's divine drama. So they really are just aspects of Hashem. Through them, we learn about Hashem. Not only through what they said, it's what they went through. And so, by extension, that's our lives also. As the Shekhinah dresses up in the lives of the great tzaddikim of the past generations, the Shekhinah dresses up in our lives. In Lecha Dodi, it says, Hitna'ari mi'afar kumi. Hitna'ari. O Jerusalem, which is the physical part, but it's the Shekhinah. Hitna'ari. Shake off. Wake up. Me'afar kumi, rise up from the dust. You've been down in the dust. You've been covered with dust. You're in exile. Libshi, big day, tifartech, ami. It's very, very, very important to get this. When you look in your siddur, if you have any English translations of the siddur here, let's see how they. Let's see if they get. We'll take the ultimate problematic siddur in the whole world. Think of the words: libshi, get dressed; big day, in the clothing; tifartech, splendor; ami. We're just talking about to the Shekhinah, to Yerushalayim. We're not talking to Ami. Ami is not who we're talking to, saying get dressed up in your splendorous clothes. We're talking to the Shekhinah to get dressed up in her splendorous clothes. Who are the splendorous clothes of the Shekhinah? Getting close. Get ready?
Shabbos.
No, the Jewish people. The people. Don your splendid clothes, my people. Now, don your splendid clothes, comma, my people. Star, footnote. In a novel interpretation, Iyun Tefillah comments, they always put you at a distance from what you're saying to make sure you're not getting too excited. Jerusalem, your most splendid garment is Israel. Let the redemption come so that they may inhabit you in holiness once more. This is not a homiletic thing. This is the real thing. We are the clothing of the Shekhinah. Hello. Don't take me away. Don't ruin it for me. We are the clothing, which means if I'm the clothing of the Shekhinah, that means that the Shekhinah dresses up in me. I am the clothing of it, that she dresses up in me. That means God's presence is in your life. In your life, yes. What do you want to say? Well, I'm doing the Shabbos Siddur now of the Breslov Siddur and the Sephardi Siddur, but it's, I'm very, 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 very charged. I'm just finished all of Friday night. I did Mincha Friday. I did Kabbalat Shabbat. This is the work of 30 years, but it's coming to its perfection. It's closer than ever before. Plus, in the Shabbat Siddur, there's more room for all the commentary that I have, which was not put in the weekday Siddur. So it's like a whole. There's sharing. There's Lechadodi. There's the Zohar Kagavna. There's Arvit itself. There's the meal with Eshet Chayil, and there's Zohars. There's like, whoa, everything is just. It just flowed out. It was the most beautiful experience I've ever had. So I just sent it in today, all of Friday night. Now I got to start on Shabbos morning. But yeah, in the meantime, though, but we know that these 4 words are very important. When we're asking Hashem to dress up in His people, and if we're the clothing of Hashem, that means that Hashem dresses up in our lives. That means that, and then on Shavuos, it's called the Tikkun Leil Shavuot. I won't go too off on this, but it's very all connected. The Tikkun Leil Shavuot is we do what's called the Kad Kishutei Kala, the 24 ornaments of the bride. We read the 24 books of the Tanakh, the beginning and end of every 3 verses, 4 verses, whatever. Sometimes if it's really shaykh to Shavuot, we read all of Parshat Yitro, we read all of Parshat Bet Hanan, we read all of Ruth, right? It's a night learning, beginning and end of every one of the 24. Why 24? Because there's 24 permutations of Aleph Dalet Nun Yud, which is the name of the Shekhinah. Aleph Dalet Nun Yud, Aleph Dalet Yud Nun, Aleph Nun Dalet Yud, Aleph Dalet Nun Yud, whatever, there's 24 permutations, and they're called the 24 ornaments of the bride. So the question I usually ask is like this. Let's boil it down to its essence. If the Tanakh is called the 24 ornaments of the bride that she dresses up in, the bride is the Shekhinah. The bride, meaning to say, is God's presence in this world. The 24 books of the Bible are about what? I'll answer my own question because it's so simple you won't even get it. It's about people and the relationship with God. That's what the Tanakh is about. And God's interaction with mankind. The Tanakh is about people and God. There's 24 books. God dresses up in those 24 books, which means he dresses up in the lives of human beings, which means he dressed up in the life of Moshe, the life of David, the life of Yosef, the life of Rivka, the life of Sarah, the life of Adam, and the life of Eve. And that through them, the objective reality of the divinity, of God's divinity, is revealed through their stories. We know about God through the stories of these people. So by extension, he dresses up in your life and my life. That's the logical, that's the progression of thought to get to this amazing, powerful idea that how do we know God? We look at our own lives, where I was born, who I was born to, my parents, my brothers, my sisters, what city I grew up in. You do a book report. At first, when you do a book report, it's very dry. I can ask you questions and you can tell me, and then you can start to come alive. You just got to have memories, and you ask, do I see a pattern? Do I see any meaning? Maybe at first, yes, maybe no. A year later, you pick up the same text that you just wrote and say, I want to do more. I want to go more and more deeply into my life and to see what's wrong. And then another one. A painter who does only one painting, 50 paintings, 100 paintings. The 100th painting, he says, well, look at my first painting, it was nothing. My first book report on my life was like an amateur. I see much more deeply now. I painted 100 paintings of my life. I see my life much more deeply. And then in Olam Haba, when we see our life really we'll say, oh my goodness, Hashem was everywhere in my life. So forgive that was a parenthetical thing, but it was kind of something I wanted to share with you. Take it for what it's worth. Take it, use it. The book report concept of life that God dresses up in our lives. But my question to you was, what should we do? Has anybody read any of this stuff? Anybody have any questions? Do you have any questions? Notes there? Things that you like?
It's read many times.
I know. We have this, like, I thought we'd maybe do next week. We have this text from the Tikkun Zohar called Patach Eliyahu, in which he quotes here. It's nice stuff. And he has the Sefer Yetzirah stuff he has. What is it? What is he? Let's again boil it down. The whole end of the chapter is Sefer Yetzirah, so we'll have to deal with that. Okay, before that, .42 is drawing me, or the end of 41. In other words, the array of the Sfirot. Something we mentioned before, he calls it the anthropomorphic array. The 10 Sfirot are often depicted in an anthropomorphic array, paralleling the human head and body. Besides what I showed you before, there's also this. It's still, whatever. Not in any obvious way, but it's a head, 2 hemispheres of the brain, body, spinal cord, legs. But it's deeper than that. It's it's more. But this anthropomorphic, he means that that our bodies are somehow an embodiment of godliness. So in other words, God made our body in a way with precision wisdom, so that again, right brain, left brain, and then there's what's the Latin name for back here? Medulla oblongata. Medulla oblongata. It's medulla, but it's oblongata. It stretches down into the oblongata, which length means it goes down into the spine, becomes the source of the nervous system. And then it's right and left. So to know that we're created in a very amazing way. Let's see what he says. The division is based on the fact that the highest Sfirot represent internal or mental processes. So besides like the right brain and the left brain being in our head, being physical, but the processes, the right brain has a certain way of processing reality, and the left hemisphere has a different way of processing. But they're both hidden. They're called Hanistarot Lashem Elokeinu. They're both hidden. Whereas from speech downwards becomes revealed, from speech and action. But thought itself is hidden from us. So they're the internal mental processes, while the lower Sfirot manifest these processes externally. Thus, when referring to this division, the seven lower Sfirot are still called midot, attributes, while the 3 highest Sfirot are referred to as mochin, mentalities, or levels of consciousness. We find a hint of this in the Tikkun Zohar. Here the Sfirot are presented in an anthropomorphic array, which indicates their respective positions in relation to one another. It begins with the lower seven. Chesed is the right arm. Gevura is the left. There's no body upstairs, so to speak. We're the ones with the bodies. But when something is mentioned in terms of God's chesed, it's called his right arm. In terms of, there's a whole discussion of, does he have a right arm or do we have a right arm? If he has a right arm, then what we have is a borrowed term. He has the real arm and hand, and we have what we call a hand. Or that the Torah uses anthropomorphic terms of a human hand and applies it up. It's just it's two opposite ways of thinking about the same thing. That he has the real hand and this is a borrowed term, or this is the real hand, and when we call God's hand, we're saying, not saying that he has a literal hand, but that he has an action that he does that we call his right hand. It's really two things that are the same. Gevura is the left, Tiferet is the body, the torso. Netzach Hod are the two legs. Yesod, foundation, is the body's extremity, the sign of the Holy Covenant. And Malchut is the mouth. That's a little bit abstract, because the Brit Milah has a mouth itself, but then even here, up here, you have the right brain and the left brain. Within the head itself, you have all 10. Right brain, left brain, 2 ears, 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, and 1 mouth. The mouth is always Malchut. Or you can say that the tongue and the mouth are Yesod and Malchut. The lips are Netzach and Hod. So you have Netzach, Hod, Yesod is the tongue, and the totality of all of them through which the sounds come. Sound, which is unbroken, comes through the mouth, which breaks up the sounds into articulate syllables. Malchut breaks up the divine light, the divine sound, the divine breath, the divine speech into articulated syllables. So Devar Melech Malchut, the word of the king, is his kingdom. So all kinds of things in Tanakh, so we have this amazing mouth. Or you can say that the nose is Yesod and the mouth is Malchut. Whatever, we are spherotic in whatever it's a very fluidic system, but it's not so fluidic that it's all just arbitrary. It's like amazingly meaningful, but from different points of view. Here we are introduced to the 7 most basic forces of creation, the lower 7 of the 10 sphirot. Chesed, love, is the right arm or hand. Gevura, restraint, is the left. Interesting that that Rabbi Kaplan translates Gevura as restraint. Most people will translate it strength, severity, power. Why did he do restraint? He explains it in chapter 7. Excuse me. Yeah. He explains it that he says that I'm a painter. I'm an artist. Chesed is to throw all the paint on buckets of paint at the canvas. It's just unstopped. It's just no boundaries. Gevura, I can't even touch the canvas. I can't even make a point because I want it to be so perfect. It's holding me back. It's restrained. A shot put, the moment of Gevura is the moment just before the throw, right? The moment of maximum Gevura, when a person is about to throw, that's Gevura, and this is the expression of Gevura. So here it's so insightful of him to have translated and understood Gevura as restraint, as holding back. Chesed is all giving, Gevura is total holding back, and the universe is a beautiful combination of both. Like again, Havaya, Elohim, too much Havaya, there's no Elohim. No whatever. If he holds back completely, there's also no Elohim. There's no possibility. So he has to have this beautiful, beautiful interactive relationship with the world. Hiding and seeking. Tiferet is the body itself that lies between the 2 upper extremities. Together, these 3 sphirot constitute a triad, Chagat. Hence, whenever the Bible speaks of God using his right hand to bless man or bestow his bounty on him, even if man's actions do not merit it, It denotes the sphere of chesed. Left hand is referring to the sphere of gevura, where God restrains his love in order to judge man solely on the basis of his actions. One is unconditional love, and one is conditional. I will give it to you, but you act right. Gevura. Now, God's love is not dependent on what we do, so he freely gives us his love, but on the other hand, he freely loves us. Let's say he loves us, irrespective. But will he give us his love? Depends. He makes a world where he's mitzamsem, he says it's tzimtzum. He holds back his love, his yudke vavke, in order to create a world of Elohim. So the Elohim world has a yudke vavke in it, but it's within the context of Elohim. I probably just drove you crazy with that. It's a Elohim world. The first chapter of Bereshit is Elohim 35 times. Before the Hashem is mentioned, 35 Elohims are mentioned. And then when Yud Kei Vav Kei is mentioned, it says, B'yom baro Hashem Elohim eretz v'shamayim. Ze toldot ha'aretz ze toldot ha'shamayim v'ha'aretz is the chronicle or the telling of the unfolding of the heaven and the earth. B'yom baro Hashem Elohim eretz v'shamayim, on the day that God, Hashem Elohim, the first time Hashem is mentioned. So it's the context is Elohim, and within it we have a relationship with Yud Kei Vav Kei. Olam Haba is when the Yud Kei Vav Kei becomes the immediate relationship, and Elohim becomes the background. Olam Hazeh, this world, Elohim is the foreground, and Yud Kei Vav Kei. That may be not so clear. I apologize for doing this to you, but it's just good to know, keep it in the back of your mind, that the name Elohim is dominant in our world. And because Hashem pulls back his love in order to create a world where what we do has consequences. Too much love on his part, then there'd be no, it's like what you do doesn't matter. But that would be counterproductive. Because man has to learn accountability. He has to learn that this is like a school of accountability. If you become accountable within the first 6 grades, then in 7th grade, I'm going to open up to you the universe. But if you don't show accountability, if you don't understand that things have consequences, if you go around killing people, manipulating, stealing, lying, and thinking you can get away with it, then you're out of the game. We'll try and salvage something, but it's like basically you've lost. But if you understand that you're careful with my creation, and you become accountable, and you want to become clean and clear, and you work to do that, then you become an inhabitant of the next world. You become a ben olam haba, a child of the next world as you walk in this world. I'll give you higher consciousness, because it shows like the avot, Zohar Chazde Avot, Hashem remembers and brings to mind the chesed of the avot, because they were like a good investment. I gave them chesed and they used it right. So I wanted to give them more. So chesed represents an unconditional giving, while gevura, restraint, represents an aspect of limitation vis-a-vis man's ability to receive God's love. And tiferet, beauty, is the combination of the 2 primary powers. For this reason, tiferet is seen as the body itself. It denotes the perfect harmony of love and restraint. Very beautiful what he's saying here, and this prepares you for later on when he actually deals with this, more. He just develops and unfolds these ideas more in the chapter on Netzach Hod Yesod, chapter and Chesed Gevurah Tiferet in chapter 7. And now he gives a paragraph to Netzach Hod Yesod. And that altogether, Chesed Gevurah Tiferet, the right arm, the left arm, and the body, Netzach Hod Yesod, the right leg, the left leg, and the sexual organ constitute a system of 6, 3 and 3. So he's doing the lower 3 first. Netzach, dominance. Again, a very unique and good translation. Dominance, he explains why. In empathy, very big chiddush of why to translate hod as empathy, whereas most people will say majesty. But really, he says it's my reaction to God's majesty. It's my recognition of, excuse me. Why he says it's empathy is very interesting. Hashem Netzach, he has a will, and his will be done. His Hod aspect, Hashem vis-a-vis us, is he's willing to hold back, just similar to restraint. He's willing to hold back and give us the chance to do what we need to do vis-a-vis him. He doesn't overwhelm us completely. So he calls it later also acquiescence, empathy, that he empathizes with our situation. He knows that we're in a very limited situation, so he gives us as much time as possible. Acquiescence is that he gives acknowledgement to our situation. Later on, Rabbi Kaplan speaks about a chess game where the master knows how to manipulate the other person's men, but and how to move them around the board. How does he do it? It's an amazing thing. He does it 3 times in this book. But Hod is always going to be an interesting holding back in order to see what man does, and God will interact with man according to man's actions. Whereas Netzach is overwhelming, Hod is very much, I want to see what you do. I'm giving you.
Stick.
Huh?
Carrot stick.
Carrot stick? That's a pretty negative connotation.
Yeah.
Here it's the example he gives with Moshe and Aaron. Moshe is Netzach, and Moshe gives the law. Aaron is the Ohev Shalom. He loves peace. Now Aaron is blamed for the chet of the golden calf. Aaron is blamed for allowing them to do that. He's a perfect Hod character. Yeah, he doesn't. He tried his best to influence the people, but not in overwhelming, overpowering way. That's Moshe. Moshe comes on the scene. Everybody's mom is shaking. Aaron is there alone. They kill. They'll kill. They'll whatever. It's very dangerous to be in Aaron because he loves everybody and he doesn't want to overdo it on anybody. So he allows them to do the chet ha'egel, and he takes the flak for it at the end. We'll see it inside.
Didn't he allow the chet ha'egel to happen because Miriam's son is it Hor?
Oh, yeah.
God, he protested and they killed him.
Right.
And Aaron was like, well, if they kill me, then
they really have no chance. Right. Then they really have no chance. Exactly.
So he did it for the sake of himself.
Yeah, he says here on page 72. No, on page 70. Where is it? I'm not getting it. It's somewhere in this chapter, but I don't see it right now for the moment. It's escaping me. Yeah, page 71. Again, the paradigm of this is Aaron and the golden calf. Since Aaron embodies the attribute of Hod, empathy, his submission to the will of the people represents the possibility of evil nourishing itself from good, or in other words, of good allowing itself to be used for bad. We'll see it in its context. But Netzach would never let that happen. He has an amazing thing here with God's primary purpose and secondary purpose in creation. It's a real novel thing that he came up with. That it's in the Kabbalah in terms of what's called Acharaim and Panim. That, for instance, if you need to get something, you send your son or your daughter to buy something in the store. You give them the money. They walk out the house, walk to the store, speak to the store owner, get the thing, pay for it, and bring it back. All of that is called a secondary purpose to get the thing itself, which is the primary purpose. Another example is the 6 days of the week are secondary purpose because they lead to the primary purpose of Shabbat. But you need to do the 6 days of the week. You need to do the preparations to get to the thing you want to get to. So Hashem's creation is based on doing a lot of things. Rabbi Nachman brings this out in Torah Samech, where he says that's called the Psolet, the Torah Psolecha, that you get all of the riches from the leftover from the sapphire stones, Moshe, which are all of the introductory ideas that lead up to a main idea. When you get to the main idea, then the introductory ideas are seen for what they are, which is really that they were going to get you ready to get the idea that you're supposed to get, or the thing you're supposed to get. So secondary purpose is that Hashem creates a world which has all kinds of indirect and roundabout ways about it in order to get to a goal. And he just does this again in 3 places in the book where he talks about this. So for instance, at the bottom of 71, from the middle of 71, this is also the idea of the angel striking Jacob's thigh after wrestling with him the entire night. According to the Zohar, this was Jacob's left thigh, Hod. This battle took place on a spiritual level and was perceived by Jacob in a prophetic vision. The man with whom he wrestled symbolizes all the forces of evil that would attack Jacob's descendants. The wound in the thigh symbolized the partial victory of evil. Jacob's children would suffer persecution. Many Jews would fall on the way. There would also be many apostates. The fact that Jacob was injured in the left thigh indicates that this is the result of Hod, secondary purpose. Not clear yet. Nevertheless, God was promising that despite all these sufferings, the Jewish people would never be totally overcome or conquered by evil. Jacob's offspring would ultimately survive to carry the banner of God's teachings to all mankind. This then is the level of Netzach, the primary purpose. So he's now beginning to enter into the waters of how Hashem's Hashgacha works. His Netzach and his Hod is how he runs the world. And he's giving you an insight into how history works. It's very exciting. If you want to read it for yourselves in preparation for further classes. We can always go anywhere we want in the book, for sure. Enjoy that freedom. But the main thing is to get that there's a unified vision behind this whole thing, that all this flows from. He was a very creative mind, a very wonderful, humble man, brilliant. He stuttered when he spoke in class. If anybody wants, I can give you the link to his around 10 classes that he gave. But stuttered not because he was a stutterer, but because he thought so fast, and he found it hard to express himself. In public, he managed to never stutter in public. I have a speech that he gave in front of the Union of Orthodox Jewish Scientists. Not one word missed. He spoke slowly. But in class, when he would be on fire with ideas and interaction, he would stutter. Yeah. So he was a very beloved man. And we should, in his zchut, and he should have an aliyah through this. It was a big privilege for me to be able to have anything to do with this. So, okay. Right. Now we're gonna just sing the last stanza at Cousins, even though we're over town, but just one stanza. Please forgive. Hazak miached kechad Eser Sefirot מייחד אלוף הוא ירא מאורות ספיר גזרתם יחד מאירות תקרא ברינתי לפניך
Thank you so much.
Thank you.